A warm welcome to all participants in our panel, Innovative Asia, Opportunities for Austrian Companies. My name is Hermann Ortner, and I'm working in Taipei as head of the Austrian Commercial Office of the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, and will be moderating our panel today. Before introducing our distinguished speakers, I would like to highlight the importance of technology and innovation in today's Asian economies. Taiwan is a very good example of a Far Eastern economy whose core industries are very much focused on high technology, as for example, the production of semiconductors and ICT products. Whereas East Asia has a strong focus on high-quality hardware products, India is very well known for excellent software solutions. Together, the Asia-Pacific region is fast becoming one of the most innovative and trendsetting regions all over the world. In today's panel, we want to ask the question, what does this mean for Austrian companies? And now I may introduce the first speaker of our panel, Ms. Elisa Chu, who is an entrepreneur and investor who operates at the intersection of tech innovation, strategic investment, and cross-border collaboration. She has a decade of experience at top-tier investment banks and hedge funds. After a Wall Street experience, she founded in 2017 the company Anchor Taiwan, a platform to provide industry access, market immersion, and technology partnerships in Asia. Ms. Chu was awarded, among other awards, 40 Under 40 as a woman in tech in 2018. Our first speaker, Ms. Elisa Chu, will give you now the big picture of the current innovation trends in Asia. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is Elisa Chu. I am the founder and CEO of Anchor Taiwan. As Erman mentioned, I have been dedicated to cross-border business developments, innovation, and collaboration, specifically around corporate startup engagement and strategic investments for the last few years. Today, I am extremely excited about sharing my recent observations with you on the current landscape and opportunities in Asia. I guess the big question that we all want to know here is that as we move into the post-COVID rebound, can Asia lead the way forward? Or maybe more importantly, how can you position yourself so that you can get to ride with the wave as we move into the recovery? First, let me set the stage for you. This slide shows the real GDP growth in 2020 during the year of pandemic. The red area has less than -3% growth. The deep green area has positive 6% growth, while the orange and the light green area lies somewhere in between. We can see that Asia and Pacific overall held relatively well. Taiwan, where I focus on, even had a 3.1% growth, surpassing China for the first time. And in 30 years, with the highest growth in the region, thanks to very strong ICT exports and very well-contained pandemic. The Asia-Pacific area has a population of 4.2 billion and 38 member states. While each market will recover with different speed, we can see that Asia is relatively well-positioned with tremendous potential as the economy rebounds. Now, what are some of the notable trends that we're seeing in this region? Well, first of all, car is the new mobile. I call this from Apple to Tesla. The supply chain continues to transform its positioning from a phone-centric era to everything electric cars and autonomous driving. We are seeing the change not only from the manufacturing giants like Foxconn, Pegatron, and such, but also more startups catering to this new battlefield. With electric components being more crucial for car making, we see unprecedented ambition from Asian players to change the game plans for the auto industry. But how? One strategy is through collaboration. COVID disconnected the supply chain and isolated most countries in the world. But more than ever, the world realized that we need to join forces to thrive, or even to survive. Strategically, more and more leaders realize that whoever builds and controls the ecosystem will have a defining competitive advantage. Take Foxconn as an example. It launches the MIH EV Open platform last October, just a few months ago, calling for partners from all around the world. And so far, it has attracted more than 1,500 companies to sign up. This is an era where cross-border strategy is not just something nice to have, but a key to ultimate success. While the physical borders are still restricted, the mega trends in the capital markets and innovation world didn't stop. Taiwan in particular, with only about 1,000 COVID cases and 12 deaths so far, had an influx of COVID refugees. These overseas Taiwanese and a lot of foreign talents on a special gold card visa to enter Taiwan provides a special injection of energy into the ecosystem. It's probably the biggest wave of reverse brain drain in recent years. The co-founders of YouTube, Rotten Tomato, and Twitch, for example, are now all in Taiwan. We also see that startups are taking advantage of global capital markets without borders. The first Taiwanese unicorn, Appier, went public in Japan. Another startup, Just Kitchen, went public in Canada. Grab from Southeast Asia is going public with a dual listing in both the States and Singapore. We see that lots of developments around venture studio, Silicon Valley style VC funds, corporates, investors seeking M&A for their digital transformation, and more CVCs being set up. There's definitely a lot going on here. Lastly, the tech divide between the US and China continues. The world moved more and more from G20 to G2, and these geopolitical tensions can derail the recovery. This two table might give you some ideas about the rivalry between the two superpowers, with the blue bar representing the US and the red for China. We can see that China now dominates 30 to 70% of publications and patents in frontier technology, especially around IoT, big data, and solar energy. I will pause here and share further thoughts as we go through other observations in other regions in Asia. Feel free to send me questions or a LinkedIn invites for further discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us this excellent overview about the big trends in Asia. I think it was very interesting to learn about the situation with the two technology and innovation giants, United States and China. And it was also very interesting that Taiwan could even profit by gaining more human capital due to COVID refugees. This was a very excellent start. And now we may come to our second speaker from India, Mr. Ajay Singh, who is working as technology and innovation expert at the Advantage Austria office in New Delhi, and is assisting Austrian companies with their efforts to enter the Indian market. Prior to joining Advantage Austria, Mr. Singh was a clean tech entrepreneur, having developed a clean energy network over blockchain. He was awarded, for example, among many other awards, by France, India, and Japan for his clean energy initiatives, including being selected as Young Leader India France. Please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Ortner, for this wonderful introduction. So I will start with a very fair or not so fair comparison between European, US, and Indian ecosystem. So 80% of European and US outsourcing firms ranked India as the #1 outsourcing destination, and almost half of all the 500 Fortune companies choose to outsource software development to Indian outsourcing firm. Even though many countries, including China, Mexico, Ireland, and the Philippines, have emerged as major competitor, India is still the #1 in outsourcing destination in the world. So how is it possible? Major differentiators such as certain favorable government policies, fast developing infrastructure, and an immensely talented workforce are responsible for the Indian IT outsourcing industry continuing to experience a tremendous growth that is around 25 to 30% per year. And that is why India is the leading sourcing destination across the world, accounting for approximately 55% market share of approximately 200 to 250 billion global service sourcing business in 2019-20. On front of innovativeness of Indian IT and BPM companies, they have set up around 1,000 global delivery center in 80 countries across the world. India has become the digital capability hub of the world with 75% global digital talent present in the country. So I will start with why India is so unique and why it is known as a software giant nation. And this is all thanks to the Indian population. As the second largest nation on the planet, with close to 1.3 billion people and around 3.1 million graduates are added to the workforce each year. And that makes India having the largest technical and professional talent pool in the world. India remains unmatched when it comes to the vast pool of skilled and talented human resource. With population of 1.3 billion people and also the distinction with being the largest English-speaking nation in the world, larger than even the US and UK combined. Apart from the vast number, the quality of talent that attracts companies wishing to the outsource. And now we can say that the attraction of India is not only numbers, but more importantly, the quality of the talent. We have people who are innovative, creative, and really contribute to the business. If you talk about innovation, we have all seen in recent year how digital payment took over cash economy, all thanks to innovative payment solution from Indian fintech startup, for example, Paytm, Freecharge, MobiKwik, etc. And also thanks to the adoption of this digital tech wave by Indian population. For example, Paytm started as a very small startup 10, 12 years back, and now it's $1 billion company in payments. There are so many examples of startup making it really big due to the millions of ready user base in India. And again, that is possible due to technology and low cost of smartphones and the internet. There are 624 million internet users in India in January 2021. The number of internet users in India increased by 47 million in 2020. Internet penetration is around 45% as of now. For on any Austrian startup, if you developed an app, you already have millions of user base with smartphone connected devices ready to test you out. And you are on the path of becoming $1 billion company before even you realize this market is that deep. Nobody knew how 2020 would end when it started. The coronavirus pandemic has forced business to adopt digital transformation more than ever before. The number of business that have moved online in the last 6 months alone is the more than in the last decade. So what does that mean to you? Most of the global IT population is sitting back, working from home. Some of the emerging technology that I feel the trends Austrian companies should keep an eye on. Number one would be artificial intelligence. AI has already received a lot of buzz in the past decade, but it continues to be one of the new technology trends because of its notable effect on how we live, work, and play. AI is already known for its superiority in image and speech recognition, navigation maps, smartphone, personal assistant, ride sharing, and much more. Machine learning, I would say, again, a subset of AI, and it will also going to create 9% of jobs by 2025. blockchain, which I'm personally very passionate about. I think this is one of the most innovative technology in the relation. And most people think it's just the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc. But many banks and startups in already experimenting with blockchain in India. Niti Aayog, the national think tank, in partnership PwC and Intel, embarked on a pilot project to optimize fertilizer subsidy chain using a blockchain-based solution. Another promising technology is IoT. Cybersecurity, we should also, it might not seem like an emerging technology given that it has been around a while, but it is evolving just as new technologies, especially nowadays during work from home situation. In addition, I would say India is offering a huge playground for virtual reality, augmented reality, 5G, quantum computing, robotic process automation. And it's not just about software. On hardware front, India is not lagging behind. For example, India is offering more than 1 billion in cash to each semiconductor company that sets up manufacturing unit in the country, and it seeks to build its smartphone assembly industry and strengthen its electronic supply chain. The government will give incentive more than 1 billion to each company. Secondly, support from the government. There are so much support in terms of grant in aid, visibility gap funding in the form of equity, long-term interest-free loan, tax incentive, infrastructure supports offered by the government of India. So it's not just the software. Now the production of high quality hardware and complete infrastructure and the ecosystem. In addition, one interesting point is when you are in India, you have a market of 1.3 billion users and a gateway to South Asia. Therefore, India can be your launchpad to the whole South Asia, and that makes India very unique and crucial for your company. Welcome to India then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for giving us this excellent inside view into the Indian market. India being certainly a powerhouse, especially regarding software solutions. And now, as next speaker, we may come to Mr. Bayer Al-Hakim, who shows an outstanding example for a successful scale-up company entering Asian markets. Mr. Bayer Al-Hakim is the CEO of Medicus AL, an AI-based platform that explains and interprets medical reports and health data, turning numbers into meaningful insights with a global presence. Mr. Bayer Al-Hakim is a dentist by study and a serial entrepreneur by practice, with 17 years experience in a broad spectrum of disciplines, including product and technology, business, sales, and marketing. And Mr. Al-Hakim will now tell us about the importance of Asian market for fast-growing Austrian scale-ups. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here on the panel. The perspective that I will give here is from the position of an Austrian company expanding globally and looking at the Asian markets in specific. And the points that I would mention are both opportunities and challenges and certain things to pay attention to for other companies, Austrian companies and entrepreneurs, or even other European companies that are looking into those markets. First of all, and this is all based on some of the discussions that I have, because we went to Asia early, so we were always asked by other companies about our experience. And some of the misconceptions that I would want to dispel early is that Asia is not one market. Asia is a combination of massive markets that have certain things in common, but have a lot of things that are different, and each one of those markets is uniquely distinct. Some of the opportunities and some of the things that make those markets attractive is, for example, the easier regulatory landscape when it comes to certain aspects such as data privacy and medical device law. There are certain regulations in there, and you need to look into these things and you need to talk to the experts there, but it's easier to navigate than what we have here in Europe or what exists in North America. Also, in some cases, there is there are lower barriers to entry in terms of certain technologies and certain openness, which is, I think, one of the biggest advantages of working in Asia, is the excitement and the openness and the willingness to move fast in the market by the companies there or by even the authorities there is unlike what we have seen in Europe. I think it comes from the massive challenges they have, but also the massive opportunities. You know, Europe is a mature economy and a mature market, which also makes things harder to move when you have a new innovation, because everything that exists today is stable and it's working. In Asia, it's a fast shifting landscape. And if you just look at most of the countries in Asia, how they have changed in the last 10 years, you'd be astounded by the level and the pace of change, which makes people really excited. And this excitement is infectious. You feel this excitement, you get excited yourself, the team gets excited, and things move faster than they move in other parts of the world. Also, another really interesting thing and this is basically, I'm taking all of the Asian markets in combination, is the different levels of innovation that those markets exhibit. You have certain markets with cutting edge innovation, certain industries in China, and then you have markets that are adopting certain technologies for the first time, such as certain places in Philippines. And this is great, because as a company that's trying to grow fast in a global environment, you need to see and you need to experience those different levels of innovation, because they train the company and they train the team into adopting and adapting to all of the different ecosystems. Coming from Europe, we had a certain playbook on how the product works, on how the technology should be implemented, on how the business models work. Going into Asia, which is one of the first global markets we went into, this playbook really changed quickly. But what happened is, after going to Asia, we also started going to Latin America, and we realized that there are many things in Latin America that are similar to the challenges and opportunities we had and faced in Asia. So basically, Asia is probably the best market to build a company playbook on, and then to implement that playbook in other parts of the world. The other part that I would like to mention is to work with partners. It's Asia, and each country in Asia is really difficult to figure out if you're doing it on your own. We had the fortune of working closely with the Advantage Austria team. They have been a big help. They are still a big help, because we're still talking to them and working with them. But also, we really had to work with partners on the ground to help us understand the market more, to help us connect with the players, to help us structure the right products, to help us figure out the right business model. So it's extremely important to find the right partners early and to talk to as many stakeholders and potential partners as possible to get the different perspectives, and then to pick what works best for your innovation and for your company. And in those partners, I also include venture capital and investors that bring their own wealth of experience and background and connections. This is just a really quick summary of what we have seen from the Asian market. We're still very early. We have been working in the market there for less than 2 years. So maybe this is optimistically naive, but I'm very excited about the Asian markets, and we will invest more and more in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Hakim, for sharing your experience with us in entering new markets, the challenges and the assistance. I think it's a very encouraging example for Austrian scale-ups to take the step and to enter especially markets in Asia. And now we may turn to the next speaker of our panel, to Mr. Thomas HABELER. Mr. Thomas HABELER is the president of First Alpine High Performance Metal Specific Pte. Limited, which is the regional holding company of First Alpine for the Asia Pacific region. In this position, he is responsible for the sales and distribution companies in People's Republic of China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam, with a total of approximately 1,500 employees across the region. Mr. HABELER has more than 30 years of experience in the special steel industry. And now I may ask Mr. HABELER to tell us his view about market developments in Asia from the perspective of a very well established Austrian corporate. Please, Mr. HABELER, the floor is yours.
Mr. Ordner, thank you very much for a very pleasant introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you are viewing us now. So I'm delighted to be part of this virtual forum. It would be much better to meet in person, of course, but hopefully in the next couple of months, things might turn to the better. So yeah, Asia, I have to say, was for our group always the continent where changes took place really fast in a rapid speed. COVID-19 might have underlined this a little bit, but it didn't really change the speed we can see in Asia. And this was always here before. Asia, I believe, and this was also mentioned of one of the previous speakers, is clearly more open to new ideas. And innovations, I think, will take here much quicker part compared to other parts of the world, compared to Europe or the United States. So I have lived now in Asia for around about 15 years, and I witnessed a lot of change in those 1.5 decades. But in summary, I would say that Asia is today the driver and the pacemaker for new technologies. We can look as examples to Foxconn or Huawei or Tencent or Samsung or Alibaba or many others, only as a few examples. Today, I think we have the case that Asia wants to export developments to other regions, and other regions, in fact, want to learn from Asia. And this clearly was different 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. So this new experience we find in Asian players in, for example, mobile technologies, new energy vehicles, online platforms, and many others. I think the customers today, they have different expectations how they want to interact with their business partners. This is especially pronounced for B2C, but we see this also more and more in business-to-business transactions. I think today customers do expect something different from their business partners. They expect that we solve their problems, and they expect online and digital solutions in the way how they interact with us. In essence, I think this means that we need to look at new business models to maintain or even hopefully increase our existing market shares. So what have we done? Around 3 years ago, we have set up a research and development company in central Taiwan in a city called Nantao, pretty close to Taichung, where we research for new opportunities and applications in the field of additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing is maybe better known for 3D printing, and it is a production process where we can produce geometries and structures with metal powders, which cannot be produced by conventional machining operations, for example. So in the meantime, we have started 2 additional 3D printing centers, or in the professional manner to say additive manufacturing centers, in Shanghai and Dongguan in mainland China. And this was done with the knowledge we have gained and developed in the setup in Taiwan, in Nantao, which we started 3 years ago. So of course, we aim to roll this out even into more countries like Japan, Korea, for example, or even Singapore. And I think the main mantra, what we believe is important, if we can give something to our customer, which gives them the edge or makes the customer important, then we will be important for the customer. So if the customer is successful, in essence, we will be successful. So what else have we done? We invested heavily in one of our Shanghai operations in fully automated robotic machining cells. So we need to be faster, we need to be more efficient, we need to be able to use all our capacities with any wasted downtime. And of course, all this is only possible if you have the least human interaction you need, and you need the highest degree of automation. If you look at our steel plants across the world, yeah, we need to continue to look for the next level of special steel material. We need to push the limits for even better performance. And once again, and I repeat myself now, we need to help our customers to be better than their competitors. And if the customer is successful, then we will be. So these are only a couple of examples I would want to highlight from our group. This is what we have experienced in the last 5 to maybe 10 years in the Asian continent. This is why we use one step ahead. So I believe we have a lot of opportunities in a fast-changing environment in the Asia-Pacific economy. It is full of opportunities, it is full of challenges, and I believe companies who are in the starting grid, who are in the first line, and are successful in the field of digitalization will be successful in this new challenging environment. COVID or no COVID, we believe the pre-COVID environment will be surely different than what we had in 2019, but we are hoping that the new normal will not be too different from what we have seen in the past. And without doubt, digitalization will be the main field to play in. If you want to be a market leader, you need to have proper digital solutions for your customers. And we are intensively looking what can we do better in the future for our customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. HABELER, for sharing your experience with us regarding the market developments in East Asia, and also to give us some outlook how things will develop in the future. And now, after this first round, where we were more focusing on the market developments and strategies and outlooks and big picture, we come to the second round of questions, which will more focus on how to do business, how to enter markets, and do's and don'ts in the Asian Pacific region. And I would first like to give the floor again to Ms. CHIU, who will tell us about venture capital and soft landing in East Asia with a special focus on Taiwan. Please.
Thank you. I would say the business environment and the startup ecosystem in Taiwan has probably never been as international as of now. As I mentioned, during the COVID, Anchor Taiwan still continues to run monthly ecosystem events, given that there's no lockdown and everything business basically still runs as usual. We have met incredible startup talents and senior executives from places like Google, Alibaba, PayPal, Disney, Uber, and investors from both local and international funds from all over the world in Taiwan. These COVID refugees have formed a very interesting and supportive community that made it easier for more international talents and businesses to land in Taiwan. Many overseas serial entrepreneurs and investors have also provided mentorship, investments, and inject a very different mentality into the startup scene here. So we're seeing more creative setups like venture studios, microfunds, and angel syndicate groups being developed further, with earlier stage ventures as well as more international businesses being supported here in Taiwan. And as a very quick reference, the government has issued close to 2,500 Gold Card visas so far for international talents in businesses, technology, finance, education, culture, sports, and such to come to Taiwan without sponsorship from an employer. That means if qualified, you can come to Taiwan to explore setting up a businesses, a branch, or even live in Taiwan as a freelancer, as a tech business professional for up to 3 years before renewing your visa. I would say, in addition to the observations from the actual innovation ecosystem communities here in Taiwan, in addition, we're seeing a lot of development and excitement with the trends in the rise of CVC, corporate venture capital. Many Taiwanese companies are sitting on tremendous cash reserves. In fact, as of the latest numbers, there are almost 60 Taiwanese listed companies with over $1 billion US cash sitting on their balance sheets. This provides tremendous dry powder as companies are being more and more open to seeking further growth through international M&A and also collaborating with startups for innovation. Obviously, every corporate is on a different stage and path of its innovation journey. We see market leaders like Wistron, say for example, formal manufacturing arm for Acer, and now actually grew bigger on its own, formally set up its CVC office this year after investing into startups for the last 10 years. Other companies like Foxconn, Aventec, Acer, Asus, HTC, and so on and so forth, all have different initiatives to engage with new businesses, both locally and also internationally. In addition to high tech, I think perhaps an even more interesting trend is the rise of traditional industries in this space. In Taiwan, we have a lot of what we call hidden champions, a lot of world leaders in the non-ICT space, like bike manufacturing, such as Giant and Merida, like textile and shoe manufacturing with suppliers for Nike, Adidas, Lululemons, and such. These traditional industries are increasingly seeking strategic partnership and investments with startups with international businesses. We see this as an upcoming wave of instrumental and also exciting addition for the global innovation ecosystem, with not just capital, but also expertise and partnerships. So with that, I guess sitting here in Taipei, I'm really sending a huge welcome and invitation for all businesses in Austria to come and explore this great place.
Thank you very much for sharing with us the facts about the possibilities of a soft landing, and also the hidden champions, and also the beautiful problem that Taiwanese companies are facing of sitting on a lot of cash. Because I think all this reflects that there are really a lot of possibilities for business opportunities to explore. And now we may come again to Mr. Bahia Al-Hakim, who will tell us about how to get the most out of Asia's innovation potential, capital, and talent in the form of a best practice example. Please, Mr. Al-Hakim, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, the first thing, which is building on what I've mentioned earlier, is to explore as many markets in Asia as you can, but to start with one. It's each market in Asia. I mean, they're very large in size and they're different in many things, and it's really important that the company or the entrepreneur doesn't overwhelm themselves by trying to tackle many markets at the same time, but to pick with one. Of course, India, based on what Ajay mentioned, holds massive opportunities. There is also China, there is Japan, there is Thailand. I mean, Philippines, so many markets that any company, which is what we have done as well, should spend some time learning more about and talking to partners before the company picks the first one. The other one, which has been mentioned in the panel often, is to find and work with the right local partners. Asia is not a market that an Austrian company can tackle on their own. I really don't think a company can succeed in Asia on their own. The companies need to find the right investors, local investors. They can always be in combination with global international investors or the same investors that the Austrian company has. But it's important to find local investors and local technology partners that can really help the company adopt and adapt their tech to the markets that they're working on, and local either distributors or marketing partners. Because you need the funding or the access to funds, you need the technology aspect, and you need the marketing, sales, distribution aspect in order to have all of the important aspects to succeed in any Asian market, or basically any new market. The other very important tip is to keep an open mind when it comes to your product and how it may work in this market. What has worked for any company in Europe or in Austria does not necessarily work in Asia or in certain markets in Asia. I have not met one company that has taken their product and basically implemented it as is in Asia. The product will evolve. The product will change. You may need to create or add new technology. You may need to partner with other companies that have different technologies. You will probably explore and go to the market with a new business model. The presentation of the product, the way to market the product will be different in Asia. So it's important to keep an open mind and not to expect whatever has worked in Europe to work here. And the final tip, which is not a tip about Asia, but it's a tip to pick Asia, is to always, in my opinion, go for Asia before going to the US. Many Austrian companies, I see them always looking into the US as basically the most important big market to expand into. And I strongly disagree. And I think Asia is a more suitable market because of everything that we've mentioned before. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Hakim, for sharing with us your experience and how to get most out of Asia's innovation potential. I think it cannot be underlined enough that, among others, 2 points are very essential to success. First, to be open-minded that the necessary market approach in Asia can be slightly different from experiences in Europe. And second, that working together with a suitable local partner is essential for the success. And now I may ask the question to Mr. HABELER, what's next? Please give us an outlook on possible future developments in the region. Please, the floor is yours.
The requirements of all stakeholders involved will continue to change. This may be different from country to country, so Taiwan is different to Malaysia, or the Philippines are different to Singapore, let's say, but it will all go in the same direction. So the expectations in general, I would say, environmental protection is becoming more important also in this part of the world. We talk about carbon neutrality, supporting, for example, new energy mobility, car sharing, autonomous driving. Furthermore, I think we will see a continued shift towards more digital interaction between customers and suppliers, and this especially here in our context of today's discussion on B2B, business-to-business interactions. I think we will see an increased focus on taking responsibilities of suppliers for their customers. So one example could be a pay-per-use model, for example, where a customer does not pay for a product, but pays for the time or the number of times he has used a certain product. We see this already in some industries, and I believe this will become more important going forward. Lastly, I think if we look at COVID-19, of course, we will see different work environments, and also for this, when people working more from home than from an office place, we need different interactions also between the company and their employees, and I believe certain hybrid models will take place in the future, and I personally believe we will never ever see people coming 5 days per week to the office. So what I mentioned just now and quite a few other areas, I believe we will need to do a lot of research and development, and a lot of this research and development will take, especially on the Asian continent. For example, if you look at new energy vehicles today, yes, we do have them. The ones we have now are really expensive. And if you look at targets set by governments, there's a lot of research needed to make this actually more affordable to the broader population. Interaction with customers will continue to be shifted to virtual events. Today's event is a very good example of this. And I think going forward, we might need some better tools than Zoom or WebEx. I think this works to a certain extent. But if you really want to have a team spirit, a team event, I think we need to have better tools in the future. Digitalization in production and also administrative processes, I believe, will continue, and there is under no circumstances is there any going back to what we had a couple of years ago. So in summary, I think we want to continue to be part of all these changes. So first again, we want to remain in the front line. We want to stay one step ahead of our competitors, and like all the other speakers have made advertisement for Asia, I continue in this fashion, if you want to be a big player around the world, you have to be in Asia, not necessarily in every individual country, but you cannot ignore Asia. And also important, and this was also mentioned already, you need a smart local partner who has the necessary connections, who speaks the language, who is able to read and write the local language. And I think these are all important factors. But yes, all Austrian companies who want to be a major player, who want to be part of the world stage, they have to be in Asia. And I and the other panel speakers, we look forward to see you here in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. HABELER, for sharing this outlook on further developments and also regarding the future virtual interaction with us. I think this is a very good ending point for our panel. As we have heard from all our 4 speakers, and I would first like to thank all of them for participating and sharing their valuable information with us. As we have heard from all 4 speakers, the Asia-Pacific region has become certainly one of the world's leading centers for technological development. So it's definitely worth the effort to have a close look at the developments in the countries of the Asia-Pacific region and to establish business partnerships with entrepreneurs from this part of the world. In order to support Austrian exporters with their efforts in establishing new partnerships in technologically highly advanced fields, for example, from our office's side in Taipei, we are planning a virtual trade mission about modern technologies, including Industry 4.0 on 9th and 10th of June. This trade mission will include a webinar about the technological trends in Taiwan, as well as B2B talks in a virtual format. More information about this event you may find on our website, wko.at. And if you have any special requests regarding business information, or if you are searching for new partners, please let us know. We and our colleagues from all the other Advantage Austria offices all over the Pacific region will be glad to support and to assist you with your internationalization efforts. So let me thank to all of you for joining us in today's panel about Innovative Asia and the opportunities for Austrian companies, which this includes, and I definitely hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.